Okay, Oscar Kilo 2, Bravo Lima Delta, you are 5 by 9073. Okay, Oscar Kilo 2, Bravo Lima Delta, you are 5 by 9073.
Plaqueta.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for turning in. Today I'm here with my two colleagues, Dina and Emilio, and we also have a fantastic guest. Today is about nice stories that we are going to be discussing in the following episodes. We are going to be talking about interesting topics that are highly relevant nowadays, and they are making the headlines today. So it's going to be something really interesting. Dina, just what is it all about? Why we are here today?
Well, other thing is, Javier, that 5 months ago, approximately, we started this Executive MBA, and we had a lot of cool discussions, right? This is part of the program. We get together in coffee chats, and we realized that we have a lot of cool people with over 10, 13 years of experience plus, and our colleagues are actually experts in their topics, right? So we thought, okay, we're benefiting a lot from these discussions. It'll be amazing if we can share that with the world, right? And so we are here, basically. So as you see, like, we're a group of professionals. We're all doing an executive MBA at ESADE. And you will see actually that over the course of these videos, you'll get to touch on a lot of different topics. And the best thing is that you get to see how we actually relate all of our experience to everything that we're learning at ESADE. And you will see that it has been quite a transformative experience for us because it just puts everything into perspective, something that you don't get to do every day.
So an idea that came really out of the blue, and we are performing for the first time right now.
Yes.
So how is it going to happen, Emilio? How are we going to be doing that?
Well, essentially, before we dive into the main topic, just a quick note about the format. So essentially, we'll be releasing new episodes every 2 weeks. We are recording here at the...
If we can, every 2 weeks. Let's see.
I mean, that's something that we learn also in the MBA. So we have to learn while doing. So we are not planning too much. So we are first rolling out and learn from the experience and improve. So that's kind of agile and plus lean process. But well, as you might notice, we are still working on the setup, lights, mix, camera angles. So probably after a couple of episodes, we are gonna be some kind of expert in setting up podcasts. And well, essentially, for each episode, as you already said, we are gonna focus on big topics, on something that matters in today's world. And we'll be inviting special guests. Essentially, one of our special guests, we're going to say it in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Not yet. Wait a second. But also, we are going to have some industry or academic expert, and of course, our classmates from
our colleagues that they have quite a lot to say as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but the idea is also that people join into the discussion too. So if there is any topic that you want to talk about, just feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
And we'll try to make it dynamic and talk about the things that are interesting.
So leaving them in the comments. If there is any criticism as well, we have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
If there is any
feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's call it feedback, yeah.
And we will be incorporating that, we will be improving, and as Emilio said, so the first starting point was the setting. I think we managed to get something really nice. But what about if we start with our first guest?
Yeah.
So we have the honor today to have Xavier Ferràs. He's a very important person here in the ESADE and in the world of innovation. So he's professor of the Department of Innovation in ESADE. In Barcelona, Xavier, am I right?
Yes, I live in Barcelona. I teach in Barcelona, but also I teach in Madrid. So you know that ESADE has several facilities. I teach everywhere. Where someone is calling me, I'm there.
Halfway between Barcelona and Madrid, and many more places, I believe. But Associate Director of the MBA program, researcher of the Center of Innovation in Cities and the IIK, which is the Center for Innovation and Knowledge Management. When I was looking into your biography, Xavier, you are telecom engineer as a background, and PhD in Business Administration. So Xavier, good afternoon. So how do you feel today? How do you feel in our first episode? Thank you for joining us, actually.
You're very welcome. Thanks to you. This is an honor for me. I am a telecom engineer, and my passion is innovation. I have a technical background, and when I studied my undergrad degree 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, management and technology were completely separate fields. We studied a lot of mathematics, a lot of physics, a lot of receptors, antennas, all kinds of strange devices, but nothing about business. And I was lucky for many reasons. First of all, because right now, 30 years later, technology and management are completely merged. So you cannot understand an executive MBA, for instance, what you are doing right now, without understanding what technology is, which is the power of technology, how technology is going to transform everything, business models, social services, energy networks, everything will be transformed by technology. So I was lucky because I was an engineer. I started to work in the automotive industry. And I feel when I was 30, more or less, that I needed skills that I lack at that moment. Leadership, managerial skills like and knowledge, like for instance, finance, marketing. And then I did my MBA at ESADE about 25 years ago. It was, I would say, maybe the most smart investment in my life. Then I became a manager. I understood what management is. I fall in love with management. And finally, for a series of reasons I can explain if you want, I was a policymaker. I was hired by the government of Catalonia as the director of the first strategic plan of innovation in Catalonia. I had to understand what innovation was at that time. I did my PhD, but look, from a telecom background, a technological background, I became a manager, I became a specialist in innovation, and finally an academic.
Xavier, you mentioned before that these two worlds were completely separated 20 years ago. So what was the trigger for these two worlds to merge together?
Technological change. So we are living in an era of accelerated technological change. Take into account, it may be surprising, but when I think about my infancy, when I was a kid, I had a lot of contact with my grandfathers. My grandfathers were peasants. And when they were born, so 100 years ago, more or less, the technology at that time was basically the same as the technology of the Romans. They worked in the field with basic tools. It was almost, of course, nothing digital, almost nothing mechanical, no engines, 100 years ago. So during 2000 years, we had almost no technological change, but I was lucky because I was born in an era of starting and accelerating technological change. Then, 30 years ago, technology had not arrived to the world of business, but now the world of business is completely depending on technology. You cannot think about developing new strategies without taking into account what technology is.
So we have to thank ESADE. Xavier, we step back a little bit. We will go into the technicalities in a moment. We have to thank ESADE for supporting us with this initiative, particularly Andrea, Lula. We have given them quite a lot of headaches, particularly, I would say a few of them. Xavier, how does this initiative sounds to you? What do you think about three guys with the interest of developing this podcast just to bring all this knowledge together to put in the audience?
Well, first of all, it indicates that we're very good in selecting the talent to enter in the Executive MBA. So you are entrepreneurs. You have entrepreneurial talent. You have initiative. You take actions. So I'm absolutely glad and happy for that. Also, it indicates that we have a very good team. So Andrea and Lula, they are supporting you. And what we have to do as the ESADE community, as a community, is to impact in society. So which is the sense of a business school? Basically, propose, transforming the society. Not only teaching, we have to, of course, to show excellence in teaching, not only doing research. I always say that management is a science. We have to do research, but also impacting the society by means, for instance, of this kind of initiatives. Definitely. Stimulating social discussion.
And actually,
congratulations. I'm very happy.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a follow-up question. So you said, Xavier, that the technology and the managerial thing was two separate things 20 years ago. So what do you think about the leaders of the future? What kind of profile do you foresee?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think the leaders of the future should have three kind of thinking. The first of all is strategic thinking. So this is something that we at the executive MBA level, we are trying to instill, of course. You have to think in holistic terms, to have the view of the firm as a system. So strategic thinking, understanding the competencies, understanding the environment, and planning for the future. This is the first thing. The second thing is technological thinking. So you have to understand how technology is going to transform your reality. There was said before, it was a kind of pillar, kind of mantra in management, that structure follows strategy. So remind this sentence: structure follows strategy. It was said by a professor of the MIT in 1962. Alfred Chandler was a guru at that time. He said structure follows strategy, and we have believed in that. But now strategy follows technology. So you cannot develop new strategies without understanding which technology do you have. When Google says AI first, it's saying that strategy is following technology. So first, strategic thinking; second, technological thinking; and third, philosophical thinking. So we are going to live in a world plenty of machines that can interact with you in natural language. And this is not only a question of doing the correct questions. We say, you have here, you have to ask the correct questions to the machine. You have to understand why the machine is answering you something and evaluating whether this answer is correct in moral terms, in ethical terms, or not. So you need kind of philosophical thinking.
Yeah, that links really well with the question that I wanted to ask you, because I think it's of general interest, right? So, as you said, AI is playing a really big role right now, and the fact is that people want to use it, right? Like companies want to use it, especially when it comes to generative AI, so technologies like ChatGPT, Gemini, and everything that is built around it. And we discussed this in class, right? Everyone wants to use it. No one really understands how it works, but it works. And the fact is that we're going to be seeing more and more of these tools, of this technology integrated within the company, playing a bigger and bigger role into political decisions, strategic decisions, economic decisions.
With all the risk that takes.
Of course. So the question for me, my question to you is, what's your advice, right, to companies that are looking into using these types of technologies? Like, how do you balance how much you trust this kind of tool, how much you rely on this tool, with the fact that it's actually still a black box and has to be a human behind it, right? So who do you put in charge of handling this?
I think it will be a simple decision at the end, because as long as you said, Dina, machines, AI right now are black boxes, and for people that can listen that and cannot understand what we are saying, what does it mean, a black box? It is not in fact a black box. It's such a complex system that no one can understand what's happening there. And so we say it's a black box. In fact,
exactly.
Guys, an LLM is a matrix. It's a matrix of numbers with billions of parameters there. So it's an enormous matrix of mathematical parameters, and it speaks. So you have to believe in what the system is saying or not. For this reason, you should to keep the judgment, right? And you will keep the accountability on the decisions. And this is maybe the most important thing. The machine can say, I don't know, if you ask the machine, how can I deploy this strategy? The machine can say, I don't know, buy this company or fire this guy. You keep the responsibility of that. For this reason, you should understand not only the strategic part of business, but the technological part, why the machine is working this way, and the philosophical part. Is that correct? right? So at the end of the day, humans will be there, and will retain to some extent the accountability or responsibility of the decisions, taking into account that the machine cannot go to jail, but we can. So for this reason, we should keep the accountability.
Yeah, I think that brings more a similar topic that we see during our classes, that is not about replacing people, it's about augmenting our capabilities. No?
Absolutely.
We have the experience in the past of adaptations in the new technologies. This particular case for me is very interesting because it's one of the few examples that the technology goes ahead of the adaptation on the society. Would you agree on that, Xavier, or is it the opposite way around?
Yeah, but it happened in the past. If you probably you are too young and you didn't.
Thank you for that.
I'm older. In any case, I lived the arrival of the computer, and it was such a strange technology. It was absolutely useless. So at the beginning, my first computer was a toy, and no one knew for what the hell it could be used. Right? It was later that a final dominant design arrived, the IBM personal computer that set the standard for 30 years, and then an ecosystem of applications arrived later, and then the internet, and things started to be settled, right? At the beginning, and we are in this phase, at the beginning, everything was diffuse. And in AI, we are in this phase of diffusion, what we call a fluid phase. Everything is unstable. We don't understand which will be the final use, what is this technology. Even the guys that are doing the technology do not understand for what it will be used at the end. Simply, if you consider, we believed only 5 years ago that AI, and I have some paper about that in top journals, and we believed, according to our research, that AI will impact basically sequential processes. So it will be used for automation. But now I'm using AI for creativity, for proposing new things, for cognitive tasks, not only for automating and doing things better, but to propose new ideas, new hypotheses. So AI is creative. And then when we discover the real capacities of AI, the model of use will be discovered also. And in 10 years, probably it will be completely commoditized.
This is the big question. What's going to happen in 10 years? And I don't know whether we are ready to assimilate what's going to happen with this sort of technology in 10 years' time. But let's go back a little bit, because you mentioned that we are here because of the EMBA at ESADE.
Yes.
So I would like to know, you guys, your experience for the last 5 months that we have been here together. So, Emilio, what's your experience in these 5 months? If you can highlight something that you.
That Xavier is listening.
Yeah. And actually, that's a good one.
One and a half years.
But I think he has evaluated us already. So I think you can be free to answer.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. No, I think that one of the best surprise is the group itself. As Xavier said, I think that they did a great job selecting people, and also the atmosphere and the good vibes of the group, because when you are inside a high performance team or in a high performance environment, it's kind of easy to fall in the competition trap, let's say. And I think that in this group, and I think this is something maybe that some of the core values of this institution is more about collaboration, mutual support.
I think it's the people. I think we have essentially, as Emilio said, like we have high performers, but still we are a really diverse group, which is something that I really love. And not just skills. It's like you have diversity in nationalities, you have diversity in gender.
That's fundamental.
You have diversity. I don't know. Like there is a lot of dimensions I think that are covered, that they bring a lot of value, especially when it comes to discussions in class.
Dina, what would you highlight if there is something that you would have to say?
Well, I always thought of myself as a nerd, so whenever I thought about the MBA, I thought, okay, I'll have to learn a lot, and I will learn a lot of things that I don't know yet. So I also come from an engineering background, like Xavier. So the knowledge itself, it's one good thing. What's been really valuable for me is the professional and personal journey that I'm going through. It's something that I'm really enjoying, is that we're not learning concepts, but we're also being challenged and to think what we want, what's important to us, what our values are. where do we want or where do we see ourselves in the future?
Yeah.
I did not figure it out yet, but
We're in the process.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. It's expected as one of the goals, and that's something that I didn't count on, and I'm really enjoying.
That's very interesting. And actually, we have to congratulate ESADE because recently there was released the last results in the Financial Times,
Yeah.
and it has become, well, for a good number of years already, 8 in the world in the most relevant MBAs internationally. That's a really important success. So Xavier, what would you say?
What's the secret?
What's the secret? So where are the ingredients? So,
Secret.
I mean,
Say the secret, just some insights.
but the distinctive
Yeah,
proposition.
the main ingredient the main ingredient is you. So students are everything for us, and again we try to select the best talent behind the class. Your class, there's a process of selection, even a process of detection of talent. Some of you have been directly detect and contact by us because we wanted specific profiles in specific fields in order to complete the group. So for me, I did my MBA 30 years ago. For me, ESADE was a big equalizer. So I found that my classmates were extremely talented guys, and it's very rich to be embedded in this kind of environment. The Executive MBA is a journey to discover the leader that you have inside. And we do whatever we can for you to discover that. But you are leaders by nature. We are giving some skills to you, some contents. Of course, we prepare very carefully. Those contents, professors, should be very good, not only in academic terms, but also in professional terms. And if you create this, what I call cocktail of talent, then rankings will arrive in a natural way. So we'll appear in the rankings because we have very good students that will go to top positions, that will talk very well of us. And this is a kind of flywheel, right? If you make it working, so everything will work in the future.
You have the recipe there. I don't know if you should have said it, but yeah.
No,
It's a long one, but it's a recipe.
I mean, it's been proven so far. It's been proven successful. So.
No, I have to say that during the recruitment, at least in my particular case, it was long, but it was really worth, because I really realized that the people behind that, they knew exactly what they were doing, and it was a strong process. But then at the end of the day, you know exactly what they are doing, this sort of thing, when you meet the rest of the cohort, isn't it? So and we have been witnesses that there are a lot of projects coming along. Yeah. Yourself, guys, the other day put in this AI workshop that we did together, and some others. So there is always a constant buoyancy of ideas coming along, and this podcast is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to also to talk a little bit about the specific environment and culture that you can find in our Executive MBA, you know that there are many business schools and many of them are extremely good. We want to differentiate basically in 3 aspects, or in 3 dimensions. First, this sense of scientific management. So management is a science. And probably most of you come from scientific sides and we're far away from management. But here you feel that management is a science. You can rely on models, you can rely on theories, and you use these theories in your practical life from the first day. So management is a science that is applied. It's an applied science. Second, management is a humanism. Basically, this is maybe the most interesting thing of management, is that a manager has to develop teams, has to develop persons, to understand what inspires your team, what motivates people. Management is a field that is very intensive in human relationships, and it's very nice. And this kind of humanistic management, also here at ESADE, is very well tailored. Is tailor-made for you, because all of you, and will follow a process in order to discover this leader that you have inside. You know what is the LEAD program. There's a specific methodology to develop leadership here at ESADE, and this kind of specific, this kind of humanistic leadership. And finally, and here again we have a sample of that, we foster entrepreneurship, not as the act of creating a new company, as the act of taking actions, making decisions, moving forward. This is what you are doing with this initiative. So this is an example of entrepreneurship.
Okay, so let's change gears a little bit, Xavier. So let's go back with the AI thing.
The big topic here
nowadays. So with China facing the restriction on buying advanced chips, what's your view on how China can keep up with the AI race?
Well, China is at the top, together with the States. Maybe United States a little bit forward, but there is an intense competition, a new Cold War, between China and United States, and this is a new scenario for all of us. We have lived in a world of stability, so what we call globalization was a paradigm of a stable world, where everything, to some extent, had to be quiet. Supply chains were secure. There was only a big guy in the world that were the United States. It was a unipolar world without any possible competitor. It was one single model that was market capitalism and democracy. But now we realize suddenly, after the pandemic, that there is another block. And this other block is led by China. It's not only China. It's China plus the BRICS, the West and the rest. Right? The West is split in two, Europe and United States, and the rest is a set of countries, in fact, 2/3 of the humankind that are not working under the classical liberal democracy or the classical market economy. They have other systems, other cultures, and they're competing against us. And this competition is done basically right now in high tech. So if before the mantra was externalizing everything, following the low cost, because the world was stable and the driver was basically efficiency. Now the mantra is internalizing as soon as you can all high tech that you can, because controlling technology will give you power. Take into account that I would say the engines of power, the engines of growth in the world right now are basically capital, technology, and talent. And capital, technology, and talent are independent of geography. So this is a global competition to attract those assets. And before, it was basically the Western world that concentrate capital, technology, and talent, but now the other block also is attracting those assets. So this is the new reality, and you will have to thrive in this new world.
Well, would you say, Javier, that Europe is in the race, actually?
I was going to ask an answer question, but yeah, sure, let's go with that one.
It's very true. So we have China and we have the States reacting, but we see Europe still very clunky, but in terms of the regulation, I don't know, I
think Europe has been, in my opinion, Europe has been sleeping during 80 years, since the Second World War. Eric Schmidt, that is the former CEO of Google, said that Europe is too busy regulating to be relevant in this race. We have to regulate, but we cannot over-regulate. We have to make things easier, much easier, to eliminate bureaucracy and to react very soon. So when talking again about AI, when ChatGPT appeared, it was 13 November 2022. It was a day that will keep for the history, because it was the beginning of a real incredible revolution. I would like to see Europe responding with a massive investment to create a similar LLM, right? If you want regulated or ruled with European democratic laws, right? Regulated from Europe, we cannot forbid ChatGPT. We cannot ban ChatGPT in Europe. We will lose a lot of possibilities of, working growth, whatever. But we need our own technology here in Europe. And I do not see the investments that we require in order to compete against the Chinese and the Americans. We should be much more executive in this area and put much more money, much more faster, and responding to, we had to be the third player in this world between America and the Chinese. We should be the third player there.
But the regulation, I think, will play a key role. Like Europe has to stop over-regulating and even simplify things way more so that companies can be more competitive, especially when it comes in the technological
Absolutely. But once said that, Europe has an incredible platform of science. So we have a lot of science here. We have the capacities.
Yeah, precisely because of that, like we need a little bit more of room to move, right?
And action and decision and market view. So we have to put this knowledge in action. This knowledge is here, but it's not in action.
I think that the thing is about the action, because if you see how many ads we have here in Europe, we have the AI ad, we have the data and cloud ad that aim for for cloud compatibility about different European clouds. And the thing is that meanwhile we are developing documents, US companies dominate the market, so we are doing documents, another are acting, and then figure out how to make cloud compatible one each other. So I think it's about action.
For me, this is Europe last call. It's the moment of integrating, it's the moment of standardizing, and it's the moment of scaling up Europe. Is now or never. In 10 years, we will be completely out of the game. In 5 years, we'll be out of the game.
Yeah, let's be optimistic and keep it at 10, even though we all have the 5-year time. We have the 5-year time in mind, yeah.
But Dina, I'm a techno-optimist. So if you look at this geopolitical scenario, you can be concerned. But if you look at the fundamentals, for first time in history, we have everything that we need in order to give material welfare for every one of us. So for first time in history, we have in fact information for everyone almost for free in infinite terms. So this that a kid in a remote country now has more information in his or her hands than President Reagan in 1980. So information is abundant. Knowledge is abundant.
We were actually talking about that yesterday. Yeah, that we're in a moment of equity. Like everyone will get what they need, at basically cost zero.
So would you say that what you were describing is like being in a white ocean? So we are taking high risk, no reward, and then at some point, other companies in the States or in some other place would go to the blue ocean. So Absolutely. From the university, we are developing this technology, but somebody else is getting the reward from that.
Absolutely, because we for cultural reasons in Europe, and this is called the European paradox. For cultural reasons, especially in the south of Europe, but in Europe as a whole, we are very concerned with developing science, and in Europe we have very, very powerful scientific clusters, but when come to the business side, we are reluctant. Oh, you will make money of that. Well, yeah, the economy works this way. So economy is a game of incentives, and people want to be incentivized, and business work under an incentive game. So moving the science to the real world, it's not only business and society, seems the dark side of science, and it is not. It is part of the good side of science. With science, with R&D, you can solve almost every problem in the world. The only thing is to create the right set of incentives to move this knowledge to the society and to the business world.
Do you see, Emilio? Do you see that disjointment between the academy and the private sector? So you don't see any transition of knowledge, any preference?
Yeah, I think that I spent like 2 years at the university as a researcher, and I think there is a huge gap between universities and industries. I guess that in other countries, this collaboration, even though there are a lot of specific programs to incentivize this kind of collaboration between universities and private companies that put funds in order to get this knowledge and think about how to transfer it toward a particular industry. I think that there are a lot of things to improve.
It's a question of incentives. There is a myth, at least I think it is a myth, that you have a culture and you cannot change the culture. And I believe you can change a corporate culture, and you can change a national culture, and you can change the culture at European scale if you set the correct incentives there.
Well, guys, I think we can leave it here. I think we have discussed quite a lot, Xavier. We have talked about the current situation. We have talked about the foreign situation, the status of the technology. So we have spoken about
What
little
Europe should do.
yeah, what Europe should do. Gosh.
That's important.
So, how do you feel after the first episode? Lina, in a couple of words, do you think excited? Yeah,
excited. I think it can be very interesting, not just for us as an experience, also for everyone to see a little bit what's the process that we go through when you go through an MBA. So, I think it's an exciting journey.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. So, putting aside all the technicalities with the lights, mix, sounds, and everything else. But, as we said at the very beginning, it's not about planning, it's about the process. So you can use the process to learn how to perform better.
Yeah. So the idea, as you can see, is developing this conversation with experts in the topic, as we have had Xavier today, and taking something really meaningful from here, taking some takeovers. And I think today we can bring some really important takeovers that are very relevant. And we have had the honor to have Xavier with us. Thank you very much. All of us, Xavier, thank you very much to you. You are a busy person. We know that you are leaving.
It has been a pleasure. It has been an honor for me. Congratulations for the initiative. Go ahead. Count on me also to support this initiative. Thank you very much.
And the last thing that I have to say is the next episode is going to be a really big topic. Here, I'm not going to disclose it. I'm not going to disclose it. No. It's going to be very interesting. But
not even to us.
Not even to you. That's just for me. I have 2 experts, PhDs, many years of experience in the field. So stay tuned. It will be in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks' time. Next topic to come. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.